So hello guys, um, welcome to this video series, and in this video we will be talking about the overall procurement process, and I'll do it in three parts. This part will address the procurement process, but in terms of the users. That's one. We'll be looking at it from the perspective of the users. We'll be looking at it from the perspective of the documents involved, and we'll be looking at it from the perspective of the process or operations involved. So when we're thinking about the procurement process, I want you to envision three main parts. And the first part is what you call the pre-ordering phase. And here we have activities or events that take place before an actual order is triggered. Then you have the ordering phase. This is when you create the order, send it to the supplier. Then you have the post-ordering phase. So this is everything done after you've given the order to the supplier. So when we'll be talking about the users and the documents and the process, I want you to pay attention to these three main phases. What activities are happening before, during the order, and after an order is placed? So let's start with the users. Now, when we go to the users, we have three. Okay, let me just list them down. You have the user, you have the procurement department, you have the management, you have here the suppliers. Now, if we're looking at the process that we just mentioned here, this is what happens. The user is the person who has a need for an item and communicates this need to the procurement department. So here we have the information. It moves from the user who wants, for example, we need a new bus as JQuA to be taking our students for student trips, and they tell the user and they tell the procurement department, we need a bus, and there is a specific type of bus that we are looking for. When the user is trying to clarify the need, this we say is the specification activity. In other words, he is specifying what type of bus he needs. Another user comes and says we need laptops for our students. And the user that needs the laptops will specify exactly what type of laptop. So when they say we need a 320 GB computer, when they say we need a 4 GB RAM, when they say the monitor, we need it in this specification, this here is the specification stage, which is happening before an order is triggered, and it is developed by the user in conjunction with the procurement department. And the reason why this is important is the principle of GIGO applies, where we say garbage in, garbage out. If you specify the item that you need, the supplier will deliver exactly what they thought you was what they thought you meant, and this will create a mismatch between the need that you have and the supply of that item. And this is where we have a lot of returns because you have a very bad specification. We'll get to this much later. The procurement department verifies the specifications and develops a list over here of suppliers who can be able to supply that need, and this is what we call a pre-qualification stage. Again, it is before we have ordered over here. So they have a pool of supplier 1, supplier 2, supplier 3, supplier 4, supplier 5, supplier 6 who can supply this laptop. They are pre-qualified, and they are pre-qualified on two bases: the financial base, that's the first one, and the technical base. In other words, technical and non-technical aspects. The technical aspects refers to, can they be able to are they an IT firm? It's not a supplies or tendering firm that does not have an idea about the IT industry. Do they have the technical know-how? The other one is financial capability. Can they be able to meet their short-term financial obligations without pressuring us, the organization, to pay them? Okay, so after they have this pre-qualified list of suppliers, they send what you call a request for quotation. In other words, we need a computer, and these are the specifications. Can you quote for us how much you can be able to supply that computer for? Supplier 1 comes and says, I can give it for 45K. Supplier 2 comes and says, I can give it for 40K. Supplier C comes and says, I can give it for that K. The other suppliers say, we cannot be able to bid for that job. Now, when you're looking at these bids over here, you must think about it this way. The procurement department is looking for the right supplier in this case. And in the right supplier, they want the best price, in other words, the lowest cost, and the highest quality, and to be supplied at the right time. If you remember the rights, the objective of procurement, we say the right cost, right price, right price, and so forth and so forth and so forth. So they analyze the supplier who best meets their needs, and this is the competitive bid. In other words, it is not the lowest priced supplier who will get the job. It is the most competitive bid, and this can involve other aspects as lead time. For example, the 38K supplier over here may be 30 days away from us, while the 45K is only a day away from us. So if we have this as an urgent need, we are going to pick this and not this. This is the most competitive bid. Again, I digress. We'll look at those aspects much later. So once they've decided that supplier 1 is the winner, they send the order. And the order comes, they prepare the order, or what you call the LPO. The order in this case is going to move from the procurement department to the management, and it will list the following. It has the items that you need. For example, we are buying PCs, and the quantity is 30, and the price that we found is 48K a piece. So the total here will be maybe 500K and so forth. Now, the management will verify, because in procurement procedure, we say that if items go above 500,000, then they are supposed to be by tendering process, not request for quotation. But if they are below, for example, 400K and so forth, then what you do is you buy using the quotations. So under the signatories, you can have the chief procurement officer as one of the signatories, financial officer as the other, and under JQuad, for example, the DVC admin as the other signatory. The CPO signs, the FO signs, and the DVC signs. This is taken to the supplier, and that is the ordering phase. The LPO is taken to the supplier. One copy is given to the procurement department, another copy is given to the user department. So you have each and every person has copies of the LPO. Now the supplier brings the goods to the department. They do not take them straight to the user, but they take them to the procurement department for verification. And this is what is happening. The supplier will come with a delivery note citing the items that they have delivered. The procurement department will verify the delivery note against the LPU to make sure there is a match. If there is a mismatch, then or returns, they will return the goods to the supplier, and a goods received note is prepared by the procurement department. This says that we ordered 30 laptops, but we have received 25 laptops, and the supplier is so and so. Those are the details in the goods received note. Now, once the goods received note is prepared, a copy is given to the supplier. Then you have the invoice from the supplier is given to the procurement department. Now, some cases, the invoice is taken to the finance department. And before they pay, the following are the things that they will be looking at. The LPO that was sent, the goods received note that was prepared by the LPO, the procurement department, and the invoice that the supplier is asking to be paid based on. If all these three match, then the supplier is paid in full. But don't forget, there's some steps I have skipped over here. Sometimes you have expediting when the supplier is taking too long. Sometimes you can have scenarios where the procurement department decides to cancel the order altogether because the supplier has said they do not have capacity. But overall, in this whole video, I want us to look at the following in terms of the users. The users involved in the procurement include the person who raised the need, the authorizing department, the procurement department, the finance department, then you have the supplier. These are the users. When you look at the documents involved, you have the requisition note, which is the user saying they need item so and so. You have the LPO, you have the request for quotation, you have the delivery note, you have the goods received note, then you have the invoice, and they flow in that order. Now, when we were looking at the processes that we talked about are this whole activity that we have over here. Now, I'll be breaking down in the next video some of the issues or some of the things that are done in each step, and this we will talk about in the procurement process that is being tackled now under these three phases: the pre-ordering phase, ordering phase, and the post-ordering phase. Thank you.